Welcome to Baker's High School Huddle. I'm Joe Coward, along with Justin Barney from the Florida Times Union. I'm in for Frank Frangie. We're going to cover all of Week 7 of high school football. Should be a lot of fun as we look at the games of the week. And Justin, when we start talking about the way things are settling in district races, this is a really important stretch.
Yeah, Week 8, we line up into, some crucial district matchups. Playoff spots will be decided this week, some officially, some unofficially. So we've got some good ones to look forward to and some good ones to talk back on from Week 7.
Ponte Vedra and Bartram combined for a 103-point total in that game. Just an incredible game with Joey Gatewood and the Bartram Bears ultimately coming out with a victory. But let's get to our game of the week. This was a huge one. In a lot of ways, Justin, this could be a statement game if Bowles were to pick up a victory, looking for win number 451 for Corky Rogers.
You know, this one, all the hype, all the billing on this one, they don't play often, and I think it certainly lived up to that hype early on.
DJ Porter with the run. Now quarterback for Bowles, Mac Jones. 19 yards, trying to cover the number. Gets it right on the cone. Mac Jones to Isaiah Westbrook for the early score. Bowles up 7-0 over Columbia. An important stretch early in the ball game to try and stabilize that home field advantage.
Yeah, that's Isaiah Westbrook's 5th touchdown in as many weeks, or as in the last 2 weeks for Bowles. He's done it offensively and on special teams.
Lake City Columbia's Davin Shook looking for his open receiver, double coverage, but all the time in the backfield to get that ball off. Hit him right between the numbers. Shook coming back looking for more.
You know, it's amazing when you look at that pressure, the highlights here, and what pressure Bowles is not putting on Davin Shook. It's amazing. He just has all day to sit back there and find his guys. Defensively,
Lake City Columbia coming to play. That was a huge stop from LaQuavius Paul as he meets the running back right there in the pocket. Sack now as LaQuavius comes right back and takes Mac Jones to the ground. That was another big defensive play.
You know, and you look at Bowles, their offensive line has not been overwhelmed like it had been this season. Alfonso Battle, the recipient of that pressure, he has that pick 6 right there on a 24-yard interception return.
So Columbia up 14-7 at this point. It really is all defense, the story of the night. Lake City Columbia just a suffocating defense. No yards, no room to run really for the Bowles rushing offense. They were held to less than 100 yards rushing, Justin.
Yeah, you know, with all the stable backs they have, they have 4 backs that run pretty consistently. Amari Terry out for a while with a broken hand, but nonetheless, one of those guys you expected to get going, none of them do. And as a result, Mac Jones has to do a lot through the air, and Columbia sitting back in there and making him pay.
Yeah, Kenny Johnson with the pick there. So that was another big return for a score from 41 yards out. He takes it to the house. And so Corky Rogers just trying to settle down Mac Jones, get something good going here. Drops back, finds an open receiver, and Zach Crosby able to get to the end zone with that. That at least gave them a little confidence going into this second half.
You know, Zach is a good player. He's a nightmare mismatch for a lot of these guys he's going to see. 6'3", 190 pounds, and Mac Jones throws a great ball.
Another big pass from the Lake City Columbia quarterback as Davin Shook finds his open receiver. Big gain, puts him in scoring position. Plenty of time to throw once again. Finds his receiver, Nathan Maxwell, with a little bit of style right there at the end zone, scoring for Lake City Columbia.
You got to just mention that offensive line play. Davin has got all day to throw that. Right back comes Isaiah Westbrook. Again, I mentioned last week he did it on special teams, and he sets Bowles up for another one here with a very good kickoff return.
So Westbrook putting him in position, not able to punch it in. They have to go to the foot of Erica Clark, and she connects from 31 yards out. And so Bowles trying to get something going offensively. Nice little gainer, but still unable to get into the end zone. So a couple of field goals from Bowles. That's not going to be enough to beat Lake City Columbia.
Yeah, not when you're trading 7 for 3s each time down the field. And, Lake City Columbia, big play offense. As we see right here, special teams. You got to worry about Lake City's passing offense, the rushing offense with Kamario Bell, and special teams too. When you put all those 3, you've got to stop one facet. Bowles did not do that at all.
Yeah, huge return there. Latrell Williams taking it 90-plus yards the other way. And so Lake City Columbia in control. Look at this athletic play here coming across the field, just zipping by defenders. That guy's going to have a lot of letters of recruitment coming his way, you would think.
Yeah, just a perfect stiff arm there. That's a textbook. You're going to see that one on replay on Huddle all week for the Lake City Tigers.
So Lake City, Columbia taking care of business. Camario Bell getting in the end zone. And more than anything else, when you talk about Brian Allen's club up there at Lake City, they know that they're going to be in the conversation when it comes to the postseason. And beating Bowles the way they did on Friday night certainly sends a message.
Yeah, I mean, this was a headliner game, no doubt. Columbia coming off of its bye week, and they treated it like a playoff game. They come out and dropped 28 points on Bowles in the second quarter at Bowles. I mean, I don't know how often that has happened, but it cannot be a lot. And Columbia came to play. I mean, I know Corky Rogers was worried about Columbia's presence and size on the line, and that showed. I mean, pressing Bowles' running game, forcing Mac Jones into some bad passes. And really, Brian Allen's got to be pretty happy with his Tigers team. Great
game for Lake City, Columbia. Now we get to the Gateway Conference game of the week coming up here in just a second, and we'll take a look at what should be another interesting battle, Rains and First Coast. We know that both of those teams are trying to stabilize their season in the midway point.
Yeah, you know, First Coast especially, they've one win over Arlington Country Day, and Rains has been Rains, ranked number 2 in the state poll, but you expect a little bit of some intensity there. First Coast possibly posing a challenge to that unbeaten Vikings team.
So coming up next, our Gateway Conference game of the week with Rains and First Coast battling it out.
You know, Alex Rutledge, he has been a catalyst to everything Rains does this year. You know, you don't see a lot of offensive numbers for him simply because they've had short fields to work with and whatnot, but he had a fantastic game against this Buccaneers defense.
Now, Rutledge right now the centerpiece of that offense, just an easy inside handoff. Look at him ripping through tacklers, turns it back in the opposite direction up the right side, splits the defenders and leaps into the end zone. Rutledge with a big-time score early in the game.
Yeah, it's really good to see Alex running that ball well. He's a returning guy, and like I said, his first game that he's had some time to work, some time to move against a good defense.
All right, special teams play here. This is Willie Wright, takes it up the left side, just bouncing off defenders. That looked like one of those, what do they call it, a B-button move as he spins around one of the defenders, takes it into the end zone, and another big score. Rains up 20-0 at this point.
Yeah, that was Willie White's 4th punt return touchdown of the year, but First Coast refuses to go quietly. Kevin Stefferson, Notre Dame commit, 74-yard on the kickoff return. He's a fantastic player. Really single-handedly kept the Buccaneers in this game the other night.
So Stefferson's score, it's 20-7, but then you see Alex Rutledge coming right back. This one from on their side of the field, cuts across midfield. He's going to take it 53 yards before he finds the end zone, and another touchdown for Alex Rutledge, his 3rd of the night.
You know, you look at those plays and we string them together quickly, but those last 3 touchdowns we just saw took a combined 42 seconds to happen.
All right, right now on the opposite side of this scoreboard, First Coast trying to make something happen. Stefferson on the receiving end, wide open, just past a couple of defenders, able to take it to the house. So Javari Hardy, a 56-yard pass there.
Yeah, First Coast has really been one-dimensional this year. They have no running game, which to speak of. You know, when you're going against Rains has the #1 rush defense in the area. Didn't expect it much going. They put it on the hands of Javari Hardy and Kevin Stefferson and could not get that done against one of the best teams in the state.
101 receiving yards for Stefferson. And when we talk about the big games coming up, Rains right now is trying to prove that they're the best team in their classification. That was a big win for them. But when we take a look at Bowles losing and Rains winning, where do we go next?
Yeah, I think Rains logically moves up to that #1 spot in the state poll. Bowles has won. You lose by 29 at home. I think you're bound to move down, despite that was a 7A Columbia team they faced. But I think, you look at Rains' quality of schedule. It's not been what Bowles' schedule has been, but, nonetheless, things crazy happen between these two teams. October 29th at the Graveyard. We're going to see a good one, I bet.
Well, that's certainly one to look forward to. Deran Wiley has really got the Rains Vikings going in the right direction. He still wasn't completely pleased with the performance that he had the other night against First Coast. Let's check in with Deran Wiley, coach of the Rains Vikings, with our Marcel Robinson.
Thanks, Joe. I'm here with Rains head football coach Deran Wiley. How you doing today?
I'm great. To be 6-0, we're happy about that, but still a lot of things to clean up.
Right. So tell me about the game on Friday against First Coast. Had to be a big one for you, right?
Yeah, always a big game. It's a rivalry game. Two teams that love to battle each other. Friday night was a great atmosphere for us. So we came out. We started the game out very well. We had a little lull in the third period, but overall we came out victorious. So it was a good thing.
And like we were talking when we walked over here, you know, last year, obviously, you remember the 62-7 they put on you. But this year, you know, not really worried about the points at this point. You're just trying to get a win, right?
Well, yeah, you know, revenge. We don't, you know, I don't worry about the revenge factor so much. It's just, you know, it's a new year, new team, new attitude. So let's play just to win and not worry about the past.
Right. And speaking of, you know, you put your footprint on this program. You know, you guys have been, you know, great record, you know, beating teams to sleep. Tell me about how are you getting the kids to buy in to do so well this year?
Well, that's always the tough part, you know, getting kids to believe in what you believe in, you know, unselfish football, you know, let's play for each other, not worry about your individual statistics, let's just play for each other. And, but, you know, kids are buying in to the point where it makes the job a little funner, a little easier, and the results are much better.
And before we go, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, coming up at the end of the year, got that big Reigns Bowls game. You got that. How do you get the team to focus on the games leading up without looking ahead?
Well, we preach in the off season, the next game is the biggest game. We can't worry about that game. You know, we know it's coming. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's coming. We have to, you know, just get our mindset that each week, let's worry about that opponent, let's prepare, and then let's try to be focused so that, you know, we don't overlook anybody and it's something we slip up and, you know, and get defeated. So we try to just come out and worry about that game, and, you know, when that game gets here, you know, hey, be focused on that one.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Thanks for spending some time with us.
Okay.
Joe, back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Marcel and Coach Wiley. Let's get to Fleming Island next. A tumultuous week, to say the least, with Coach Frank Hall and the Fleming Island Golden Eagles. But let's take a look at their ball game from Thursday night against Westside. That's coming up next.
Our focus was on the offense, and they came up big for us. So I'm very proud of those guys. They came together, and they fought and fought.
How big of a win is this, considering everything going on?
I mean, it's a big win because it was the next game. I mean, the kids moraled around each other. We preach family, so it just brought us together more, and they was ready to play.
Welcome back to Baker's High School Huddle, presented by Baker Sporting Goods, your team sports superstore. I'm Joe Coward, and for Frank Frangie, along with Justin Barty from the Florida Times-Union. Fleming Island, as we said a moment ago, has had just a heck of a week. Frank Hall out, interim coach in. They really needed to play some football, didn't they?
Yeah, you know, when you take the focus off of what's happening with things you can't control with the coaching change and whatnot, Fleming Island really needed to play some football, have a good showing. Their last time out was against Oakleaf, a big district loss, so they needed to get back on the saddle, turn out a good game against visiting Westside. We'll
find out where the coaching search takes us next, but let's get to Westside and Fleming Island. Thursday night action here on the First Coast, and the Wolverines getting things going early. Dravon Eason, big play as he takes it ripping through the Golden Eagles defense into the end zone, and Fleming Island having to respond after a Westside score.
Yeah, 13-7 at that point, and really a sign of things to come where defense was optional. Trey Sneed, a big night. That's one of his first scores right there, and a very a career game for Trey Sneed.
Trey Sneed gets it going, but then the Wolverines coming right back. Tavion Nicholson into the end zone from 2 yards out. Westside 21, Fleming Island 14.
Fleming Island right back, Spencer Mall now to Travis Anderson. And, you know, you're talking about Fleming Island this season. They're not a passing team. They are a running team, so they get that air going early on, and Spencer Mall now delivers.
On the ground, close to the goal line, but not able to punch it in. Next play, they are in the end zone with Trey Sneed from 3 yards out.
You know, Trey Sneed on his way to a 5-touchdown game, and whenever Fleming Island needed something, they put it in Trey Sneed's stomach.
Westside Wolverines coach Rodney DeBose trying to talk to his quarterback and his son, by the way, as he's trying to ignite the offense. Amari DeBose, well, he says, Pops, I'm going to take it to the house. And he goes 70 yards for the score.
You know, Amari, one of the best pure athletes in the area. Throwing the ball, he does not throw that a lot, but man, he can run.
Now Fleming Island trying to bounce back after the score from the Westside Wolverines. And a nice little catch there.
You know, again, if Spencer Mall now and Fleming Island can get that air game going, they have a back good enough capable of making them a true dual threat team.
So Trey Sneed, after the score from Nicholas Ferrendo from 13 yards out, he's in the end zone. There was a big mistake right there with the snap.
Yeah, you've got to be able to do that, especially when you've got good field position. Westside loses the fumble right there and sees its hope of anything, any kind of an upset at Fleming Island dissolve right there.
And so with that miscue offensively, Fleming Island, the Golden Eagles coming up with the ball. And then once again, the guy that they can go to and count on is Sneed in the end zone.
Yeah, again, Trey Sneed delivers. He did it all game for Fleming Island, really in a week that they needed him to.
Now, with Westside trying to make something happen, Raekwon Peterson able to haul that one in, so he gets into the end zone. And now it's time for an onside kick. Do they have it?
Not a chance. Terrible onside kick, bounces out of bounds. Rodney DeBose not too happy about that, but it's a 2-score game at that point, and Westside really needed that to come through. Did not happen. The kneel down ends it, and Fleming Island caps off a very trying week with a big win over Westside.
Now, scores in all 4 of the quarters from Fleming Island, and even though Amari DeBose totaled nearly 225 yards, including 174 on the ground, just not enough. So a 9-point victory for the Fleming Island Golden Eagles. So real quick, as we stay on the coaching search, where will they go next? That certainly was it was basically a gather together and let's play for one another type of week.
Yeah, with Fleming Island, they handed the title and the responsibilities over to assistant coach Damian Springs this past week. He delivered. I heard the players were excited, fired up with the coaching change. Happy to be playing for Coach Springs. Coach Frank Hall resigned this past Monday. Health issues was the reason he was given, but he was also under investigation by the Clay County School District for some indiscretions within the booster club. So we'll see how it goes with Fleming Island. I imagine if Coach Springs wants a shot at that head coaching job, he'll certainly have a chance to interview for that.
If there is a timetable, how long will we be looking at before we find out any real answers about what happened?
I think investigations can take any amount of time. I would say in the next, probably in the next 6 weeks, something will come down with the Fleming Island situation.
All right, plenty more ahead. We've got our Recruit Watch, our Alumni Corner. We're going to take a look at one of the big names from the First Coast coming up big in a college football game on Saturday. And we'll also take a look at Ribault. Ribault needs to post a couple of W's late in the season. They had a big win over the weekend, and we'll look ahead to their game against Suwannee. That's all ahead on the Baker Sports High School Huddle. Welcome back to Baker's High School Huddle. We mentioned Ribault on quite a roll. Let's talk a little bit, Justin, about Anthony Flynn, who his team now has 4 straight victories. They're playing some solid football right now.
Ribault, when you look at their schedule early on, they played Trinity Christian, they played First Coast, they played Mandarin, and 0-3 to start that season before they got back on the winning streak. Deshaun McNair has been a big part of that. You see him right here. And, Anthony Flynn preached, if you guys can stand this, withstand the heat early on with some of these losses, I promise you it will pay off in the end. And that's exactly what has happened for Ribault. They're 4-3 after this big win over Jackson.
When we talk about restoring programs, Anthony Flynn, like a lot of other guys, they are charged with a huge responsibility to get these kids believing, get the support system from the alumni and from the boosters, which is also important. Yeah,
very big at Ribault. When you're always constantly compared to a Range, you're right down the street from Range. That's a big rivalry, but you're always kind of judged on what you're doing against Range. And they've got, again, the tough start has really paid off for Ribault, and you've got a big challenge up ahead this week when you go out to Live Oak and face the Suwannee Bulldogs, probably the district favorites within 3-5A.
Suwannee takes the football serious up there, that's for sure. All right, let's get to our Alumni Watch. And Isaiah Ford is a guy that you covered quite a bit all 4 years at Trinity Christian, and we knew he was going to be a good football player, but holy smokes, he goes up to Virginia Tech and has himself a Saturday.
Yeah, he's been doing it since he got to Virginia Tech. He's actually a true sophomore, had a fantastic true freshman season, but the other night in a 28-13 win over NC State, a Friday night game, Isaiah Ford, 4 catches, 39 yards, but 3 of those go for touchdowns. And Isaiah Ford, he has just been fantastic. 6 touchdowns this season for Isaiah. I think if he continues to perform like this, we could be talking NFL on Sundays for Isaiah Ford.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. They've gone through a couple of quarterbacks up there, so having a good solid option, a good weapon to go to is key. By the way, let's not forget, he was going up against Grayson Allen on the basketball court not that long ago either.
That's true. He had a 61-point game his senior year in high school, so he has just been a fantastic, not only a football player, but had he not gone football, he could have played basketball at Virginia Tech too, I'm sure.
All right, let's get to our Recruit Watch. We saw Trey Sneed do a great job with Fleming Island and the Golden Eagles as they posted that win over Westside. The guy was in the end zone 3 times. He's already a commit to Rutgers. And did you check out Rutgers over the weekend? Pretty good.
Impressive, but Trey Sneed's a guy who's had more responsibility put on his shoulders this season. DeQuante Showers was another back at Fleming Island. He transferred to Trinity in the offseason. And Trey Sneed has responded to that challenge. 5'11", 198 pounds, committed to Rutgers over the summer. And I think you've seen his presence grow from an offensive role, and he has responded. I know he's excited to get up to Rutgers, and I know the Rutgers folks excited to have him.
Exciting times for that young man, and we'll look ahead to more exciting times with games to watch next week when we return on Baker's High School Huddle. As we wrap up Baker's High School Huddle, Justin, let's take a look at some of the games this coming week. But first, there are 6 unbeaten teams. I have to give a shout out to the St. Joe Fightin' Flashes. They're one of the unbeaten teams this deep into the season.
Yeah, six unbeatens left in the regular season, and that's pretty impressive. St. Joseph, an independent. 2 of those unbeaten teams down in St. Johns County with St. Augustine and St. Joseph. So a lot of unbeatens left in the season. It's divvied up by half. We've lost half of those teams over the last 2 weeks with perfect records.
So we'll be into week 8 when they kick it off this coming weekend. Couple games to look forward to?
Yeah, quite a few games to look forward to. We've got Mandarin Sandalwood. That's a big one coming up. St. Augustine and Ed White. We've got quite a few games across the schedule that are district implications. Reebok goes out to Suwanee. Yulee and Ponte Vedra and Bishop Kenny, a big game there. So just big games across the board. And 2A, University Christian, Cedar Creek Christian, just games all across these classifications. Not all district games this week, but a lot of big ones.
So make sure you get out to a high school football game whenever you can. Support these high school athletes on the First Coast. We finally have some good weather over the last couple of Friday nights, which has been great to see. And hopefully we'll see a race to the finish with a lot of these tight district races, which I think it's really going to start to become very, very important.
Yeah, some elimination games this week. You can officially start checking off district champions, district co-champions, playoff teams, and guys who really need some help.
All right, a big thanks to Justin Barney. Follow him on Twitter at JustinBarneyTU. You'll get plenty of high school coverage from him. We say thanks to Baker Sporting Goods, your team sports superstore, for Baker's High School Huddle.